I'd like to say good evening to everyone. My name is Pam Venuti, and I'll be your moderator this evening. And I'd like to welcome you all to the Institute of Divine Metaphysical Research. This is a school and not a church. Neither are we affiliated with any religious organization. This school is a nonprofit, non-denominational, religious, and scientific research organization dedicated to showing proof of the existence of Yahweh, our Elohim, and his eternal purpose, pattern, and plan operating throughout eternity to this present day. This school was established as a result of a divine vision and revelation given to our founder, Dr. Henry Clifford Kinley, in the state of Ohio in the year 1931. We were incorporated in the state of California in the year 1958, and since that time we've gone about to establish schools throughout the United States, Canada, and certain other foreign countries. This Syracuse branch was established in 1969. At this time, I'd like to introduce you to the Dean of our Syracuse branch, Dr. Patrick Trivison, the President, Dr. Robert Welch, and the Vice President, Dr. John Cometti. In this school, we use the true, correct, and original title of our Heavenly Father, the Word or Son, and the Holy Spirit, which are contained in the original Hebrew text. The correct name of our Heavenly Father is Yahweh, which has been improperly substituted by Lord. The correct title of the Word or Son is Elohim, which has been improperly substituted by God. And the correct name of the Holy Spirit manifested in or out of a physical body is Yahshua, which has been erroneously substituted to read Jesus or Jesus Christ. Lord and God are titles and not names. The Apostle Paul, filled with the Holy Spirit, tells us in 1 Corinthians 8 and 5 that there are lords many and there are gods many. But we now know that each Lord must have a name and each God must have a name also. Elohim is a title, but unlike Lord or God, Elohim is a divine title. That means that Elohim is the title that the Creator chose for himself. Jesus is a name, but it's an erroneous name. With some investigation on your part into a good dictionary or encyclopedia will prove that neither the Hebrew, the Greek, nor the Latin languages contain any characters or letters that would produce the sound made by this letter J. The letter J didn't come into the English language until some 1400 years after the death of the Messiah, therefore making such names as Jesus and Jehovah impossible renderings of the true name of the Father and his Son. Christ is a title just like Lord and God. Yahweh is spirit, and in his pure spirit state, he is incomprehensible and inscrutable. He is the ultimate source, substance, limits, and bounds of everything in the universe. We have Yahweh symbolized in his pure spirit state as a cloud. Yahweh is not a cloud. He merely chose a cloud to symbolize himself because a cloud has no particular or descriptive shape and form. We've drawn the cloud all the way around the edges of the chart, and everything on the chart abides within the cloud. In like manner, everything in the universe abides within this pure spirit state of Yahweh. Now Yahweh, knowing that man could not perceive of him in this pure spirit state, took on shape and took on form right within himself as Elohim, the Word or Son, a super incorporeal being. That is, having the shape and form of a man, but without flesh and blood. This form appears in divine visions and is understood in divine revelations. Later on, the self-same spirit manifests in a fleshly body and walks the earth plane as Yahshua the Messiah, whom the world calls Jesus Christ. Now there's only one name given unto salvation, and we must know that name. Therefore, the simple yet intelligent question we should ask ourselves is, what was the name of the Savior during the time he walked the earth plane? A further understanding of this name and title may be had by reading the preface of a Holy Name Bible. Also in the school, we teach by a divine pattern of the universe. It's called a divine pattern because it's Yahweh's pattern. After Yahweh led the children of Israel out of Egypt and into the wilderness of Sinai, he called Moses atop Mount Sinai and showed him this tabernacle pattern in a vision. He instructed Moses to build one exactly as he had seen it in the wilderness. It consisted of a most holy place, a holy place, and a court round about. These three compartments making up the one tabernacle pattern. Now also in the school we go about to show proof how that everything is made and operates according to the structure and function of this threefold tabernacle pattern, and how that absolutely nothing escapes the pattern. Now in this school we have 10 primary constitutional aims and objectives, and they are as follows. First is to help you find and know Yahweh or Elohim as he really is and actually exists. Second is to form a nucleus of universal brotherhood of humanity in Yahshua the Messiah without distinction of race, creed, nationality, sex, or color. Third is to investigate the unexplained spirit law, or so-called law of nature, in the powers latent in man. Fourth is to encourage and promote the study of the scriptures, psychology, philosophy, both modern, practical, and occult science. Fifth is to extirpate current superstition, skepticism, and ignorance. Sixth is to learn, know, and understand the operation of Yahweh's eternal purpose through the dispensations and ages. Seventh is to discern and avoid being deceived by Lucifer, the serpent, the devil, the dragon, or Satan and his demons operating the mystery of iniquity on earth through the dispensations of time. Eighth is to earnestly contend for the common salvation and faith which was once delivered unto the sons or children of Yahweh. Ninth is to make known from the beginning Yahweh, to make known Yahweh from the beginning ordained. There is no other name given among men whereby man can be saved, saving the name of Yahshua the Messiah. And 10th is to inherit eternal life now in the kingdom of Yahshua the Messiah with the hope of immortal glorification in the new earth state. Our watchword is peace, and our slogan is to speak the truth. And this evening we'll have the lecture dedicated with a prayer by Dr. Samantha Warren. That will be followed by our scripture, which is Isaiah, the 30th chapter, verses 1 through 14. And our scripture readers this evening will be Dr. Scott Miller and Dr. Trissy Bennett. And then we'll have guest acknowledgments by Dr. Trissy Bennett.
Let's all bow our hearts and minds and thank our Heavenly Father for bringing us here tonight, and let's ask Him to help us clear our minds and focus on what He's trying to show to us and give us just another little piece of the puzzle that is all about Him and His purpose and plan and salvation. Let's all say hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Good evening, class. I'll be reading Isaiah chapter 30, verses 1 through 14. I'll be reading from a King James Bible, inserting the true names where needed. Woe to the rebellious children, saith Yahweh, that take counsel, but not of me, and that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin, that walk to go down into Egypt, and have not asked at my mouth, to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh, and to trust in the shadow of Egypt. Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion. For his princes were at Zon, and his ambassadors came to Hanes. They were all ashamed of a people that could not profit them, nor be a help nor profit, but a shame, and also a reproach. The burden of the beasts of the south into the land of trouble and anguish, from whence come the young and old lion, the viper, and fiery flying serpent. They will carry their riches upon the shoulders of young asses, and their treasures upon the bunches of camels, to a people that shall not profit them. For the Egyptians shall help in vain, and to no purpose. Therefore have I cried concerning this. Their strength is to sit still. Now go, write it before them in a table, and make it in a book, that it may be the time to come forever and ever. That this is a rebellious people, lying children, children that will not hear the law of Yahweh, which say to the seers, see not, and to the prophets, prophesy not unto us right things, speak unto us smooth things, prophesy deceits. Get you out of the way, turn aside out of the path, cause the Holy One of Israel to cease from before us. Wherefore, thus saith the Holy One of Israel, because ye despise this word, and trust in oppression and perverseness, and stay thereon, therefore this iniquity shall be to you as a breach ready to fall, swelling out in a high wall, whose breaking cometh suddenly at an instant. And he shall break it as the breaking of the potter's vessel that is broken in pieces, he shall not spare, so that there shall not be found in the bursting of it a shred to take fire from the hearth, or to take water withal out of the pit. That was Isaiah, the 30th chapter, and that was verses 1 through 14. I would like to say good evening to all of you tonight. It's a pleasure to be here and to welcome all of you to our school. Which that is what this is a school, and we continue to learn more of Yahweh's eternal purpose, pattern, and plan here. We have a visitor tonight who we'd like to welcome, Dr. Marco Cobo from our Gates, New York class, and of course I welcome all of you. It's a pleasure to see all my brethren from home and far. So we have no first-time visitors or returning guests. So with that, we're just going to sit back and enjoy class and continue to learn of Yahweh's eternal purpose. Thank you. That's all right.
And for our first speaker, I'd like to introduce Dr. Lloyd Bennett.
Good evening, class.
Good evening, Lloyd.
Very happy to be here. Happy to see someone took the time to come and visit us tonight. It's always a joy to see somebody love their Creator, that they'd go to, they'd travel to go to. It's great. But I'm happy to be here. There is something that was on my mind. I had a couple things, but I'll keep this short. What was it? A couple months ago, somebody was on the floor, and I talked about this on the floor, but they mentioned that the angelic creation came in first, just like this chart here. See right here? The angelic, then the physical. And I mentioned this before, but I always had this question in the back of my mind. Well, I see it on the chart, and I've read it in the different paper, transcripts and things. But sometimes you always just have this little question in the back of your mind. You know what I mean? And usually Yahweh takes care of it. You have a question? So then I was reading about the tabernacle and how the Godhead fit right on that tabernacle, right? And if anybody remembers this, quite a while ago. And so I didn't go to the person and ask them, because it's like, well, you know how it is. But then after looking at this, at the Godhead here, then Yahweh gave me that extra witness that I needed so that I felt comfortable with it. Okay? Because we know Yahweh is the source, substance, limits and bounds of everything in creation. He's the source. There's nothing else. Everything comes from Yahweh. Now, in part, not in totality, like Pam said earlier, he took on that shape and form. Now, I did, and it's funny, as soon as you start thinking about this stuff, you pick up a transcript or something, it's like, there it is. I see that spirit law. Just, it's on top of everything. Running this creation right down to the pin. You know? And the longer you sit in this class, the longer you realize that, yep, Yahweh's got this thing under control. It's beautiful that we can actually see this. And the world can't. It's too bad, but this is the way it's set up. Now, this is just one sentence. Oh, I had an espresso right before we left. It was a real mistake. I'm like, now this is only, it's a couple sentences here, but it's just the way Doc, and I never even wrote down the name of the transcript, but I can give it to you if you want to hear it. But just the way he explains how Yahweh took on shape and form as Elohim. Okay. Here. Yeah, this is kind of messed up, Scotty, but you start here and then flip it over, read there.
Okay.
All right, here, I know.
Now look, this is what we're talking about now. We're talking about Yahweh Elohim creating a heaven and earth, bringing it in. That's what we're talking about, that he's doing this by him that was brought forth.
Yeah, so Yahweh Elohim is our creator, okay, in this shape and form. He comes to us in visions or in revelations. He is our creator. Spirit law, got it all under control. Okay, go ahead, Scotty.
Now he was brought, now he was the first brought forth. Now
Okay.
look, folks, I'd like to say this to you while we're at it. See this one here when he was brought forth? This is Yahweh in shape and form.
Right, that's Yahweh Elohim.
Now right there is where Yahweh the Father went out of business, you see.
Okay, so he went out of business, and we've read this many times, but the way he words this, go ahead, Scotty.
I mean, quit right then and there when he took on the shape and form.
As Elohim.
As we like to use the term, see, or in other words, when these attributes were assimilated,
Okay, say that again.
when these attributes were assimilated
When these attributes were assimilated
into an embodiment, see,
into an embodiment, which was Yahweh Elohim, these attributes were assimilated into, go ahead,
an
in a body, this
An embodiment.
incorporeal body. Okay, go ahead.
right there is where he quit. Then he took up from this embodiment.
Okay, now, did you catch that? Say that last just few words again. That right then he quit.
Right there is where he quit then. He took up from this embodiment, the shape and form, and created the creation.
There you go. Now, besides the way he worded that, there's always this tendency in the world to even other people in this school or whatever, always leans towards this Trinitarian concept. And it's like, there's Yahweh and then there's Yahweh Elohim. No, there's Yahweh Elohim. It's just an assimilation of his attributes fulfilling his purpose.
Mhm.
Did I say it right?
Yes,
Yes.
into an
So
embodiment.
he even says, and then he, is how it says that? That last sentence. And then he goes, and then he. That maybe you think that's, but to me it was like, yep, these small things, I mean, we read, and we come here, and we are tickled with small things. Just what Sam said in the prayer, pieces of the puzzle. So it's the same thing. It's just the one Spirit, but he was in a different form. It's just another witness to me. Now, that's all I needed out of that, Scotty. Now, I was reading this, and it's like, yes. So he comes to Moses up here on the mount. He has him go up into the mount, and he comes to him in a vision and or a revelation, right? Yahweh Elohim. And so let me have that in 24, where he says in a vision, like Doc says in the same way, he goes, there could be someone standing right next to him, not that there was, but there could be someone right next to him, and he wouldn't necessarily see the same thing that Moses saw. Not that there was anybody there, but it's a revelation or a vision to whoever he decides to give it to. Okay? Mm-hmm. Let me have 24, and he had hands and feet and a body, just in case for the camera, in case someone.
Exodus 24, I'll pick it up at 9. Then went up Moses and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel.
Okay.
And they saw the God of Israel. And there was under his feet, as it were, a paved work of a sapphire stone, and as it were, the body of heaven in his clearness. And upon the nobles of the children of Israel he laid not his hand. Also they saw God and did eat and drink.
So they saw him, and you'll find out that he changed himself into this tabernacle pattern, and then he goes about to show Moses the days of creation. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now, this Yahweh Elohim came to him in a vision. So, in the back of my mind, see, I never kind of drop things. I'm still thinking about the angels, and in the same transcript. And this to me was like, as far as the angels go. So he says, what about the angels? The angels came in first, but then Doc said in his transcript, well, what if you want more proof? And it's like, wow, this is like the same thing, because that's the one thing about this school that, well, one of the things, we still can demand a witness. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like, I believe that I will never get to the point where I will not want to witness. Now, I don't get up in people's faces and say, what about this, how that? I look it up. But I don't buy it until it's been proven to my satisfaction.
Right.
So the question with the angels, it's like, now see, this is the Elohim, the original archetype, or the archetype original pattern of the universe. Now, because everything goes by this pattern, you have to see that manifested in three different ways, okay? So we have this tabernacle here. This was a gift to us, because with this, we can understand the mysteries of the world. We can understand our Creator. Some of the things, and people just, right by this. It's just amazing. So this is your first tabernacle, and this tabernacle actually fits within the court roundabout as far as how it fits the pattern. So it's kind of like, Lloydie? Well, if everything goes by threes, and everything fits this pattern, including the tabernacles. Here's your tabernacle that fits within here. The greater and more perfect tabernacle, or the earth plane, would fit within the holy place. And the most holy place would be the Elohim, the original archetype, original pattern of the universe. Now there's three tabernacles. This is just a blueprint for us. Okay? Yahweh Elohim made everything according to himself. He made us in his image. The witness we were given was this tabernacle. Because then we can go and look at it at the creation, and it screams Yahweh's name. Why does it scream his name? Because he built the place according to the tabernacle, which is just a reflection of him. A physical reflection. So it just, the more you look at this and this tabernacle, and if you keep it in the back of your mind, the more you see how everything just falls right in it. The archetype original pattern, Yahweh Elohim, fashioned everything after himself. The greater and more perfect tabernacle, and then this tabernacle just amazes me daily. And you notice it lately, things have been coming down the, we've been learning, and the stuff we've been learning just amazes me. We're so blessed. Now, back to the angels. I had this question too. It's like, well, there's angels in here. Not that I'm satisfied with all the questions I had on it, but there's angels here. So, if there's angels on this tabernacle, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, right there. That's what Doc had this painted. There's angels there. So if we know there's angels here, we know that there has to be angels right within Elohim. Now, you can't get up after me and say, well, you don't know. Yes, I do. I know that if there's angels within this tabernacle, and this is a pattern of all things, and he said to make this tabernacle like I showed to you in the mount, because if you mess this up, it messes up everything. It'll even mess up the Godhead, Doc said. Can't be. It's got to be. That's why he had to get right in Moses and make sure it was done right, because it's so important. And he knew that we'd be here looking at this, and this was the pattern of everything, including himself. So, if there's angels here, we know there has to be angels right within him, and Moses saw them. Just like Moses saw the days of creation. And listen, these days of creation, I didn't want to go here. The days of creation, it was 7 days, right? 40 days he was up in the mountain. How long did he spend on the tabernacle? 33 days. The whole dang creation was only 7 days, but he spent 33 days on the tabernacle. 33. How long did Joshua walk around in the flesh?
33.
33. How many vertebrae do you have? Is it vertebrae? 33, right? I got that right?
You're born with 33, yeah.
Then the temple stood for 46. It wasn't a temple then. No, I lost that one. One of them stood for, at any rate, that 33 days, and he got right in Moses to make sure it was done right. I try to always keep my mind on this tabernacle, and I'm amazed how the little bits that I'm given and how you can learn, the things you can learn by keeping your mind on this tabernacle. Now, just like the Red Sea down here, this Red Sea, see, everything, here's your court roundabout. Then the children went up in here, and this would be, as it were, the holy place, right? Here's your first veil, and the second veil in Canaan's land. We use that example all the time. Now within the mount, the children were down here at the base of the mount. But here, in the middle of the mount, that's where, see right here, the elders, these guys, they couldn't go up. But Moses and Joshua, see, they went up into the mount. Right there he is. So this, as an example, is your court roundabout, your holy place and your most holy place. Now, first of all, the angel thing, that was like, well, there, I've got two great witnesses. To me, they were great witnesses. Now, there's your three, court roundabout, holy place, and most holy place. Now, here's the great one. Well, Moses was up in the mount, when he was up in this mount that second time, because all three trips go by the pattern. First trip, second trip, third trip. If you break these down, I wasn't prepared to do that tonight, but if you break them down, they go by this pattern, this great pattern. All three trips. Now, when he was up in the mount, when he got the 7 days of creation, and then the tabernacle, he got all three tabernacles at the same time. Think just for a minute. He got all, now what are the three tabernacles we just talked about? Here was the first one, Yahweh Elohim. There's your first tabernacle. When Moses was up in the mount, that middle one, when he was in the holy place of his trips, he got all three tabernacles. And I'll go over that again. Yahweh Elohim. Then what do you get next? The 7 days of creation. Right? 7 days of creation. What's that? Your greater and more perfect tabernacle. There's your second trip, right here. And then what do you get last? Anybody? Nobody's listening. The tabernacle, right here. Right? 33 days of it. It was like, yes. I mean, I don't know, nobody seemed very zippy about this, but I was like, yeah, that second trip, I'll just reiterate this for a second. He got all three tabernacles. He saw that the whole earth pain come in, and then the physical, or the, not physical, but the tabernacle that was built in the wilderness that was given to Moses. That last one, and that fits in this space. All three of those trips, all three of those tabernacles were given to Moses in his second trip up the mount. I tell you, it blew me away that he got that. Oh, there was a bunch of others. Well, I think I'll sit down. I don't know if I want to get past there. I better not. Anyways, I'm very happy to be here. I had more on that, but everything you seem to touch in here, Yahshua gives you, goes by this pattern.
Yes.
And he said it was a pattern of all things.
Right.
All things. So if he said it was a pattern of all things, then, maybe we got to listen to that. Even up here, he told, you could probably pick one of those up for me because the thing hasn't gone off, but in all three trips, at least the first two, and there was a couple of them, he says, come up to the mount alone and by yourself.
Yes.
In 24, that's a couple times. In 19 or 20, it's at least once.
24 and 2.
He says, come up to the mount, Moses, alone and by yourself.
Do you want? You're 24.
Anyone.
Okay.
Yeah, just so I have a witness.
Pick up Exodus 24 and 2. And Moses alone shall come near Yahweh, but they shall not come nigh, neither shall the people go up with him.
Right, and you can read there where it says, if they touched the mount, they could be shot through with a dart, or they would surely die, he says, if they touched this mount. And only Moses went up to the top of the mount, right? Up here. Now, why is that? It's because it goes by a pattern. And these three steps up the mount fall exactly by this pattern. And if so, let's look at the most holy place. Who could go up into the most holy place?
It's the high priest.
The high priest. So if Moses and Moses alone can come up here, only the high priest could come up here, right? Now, was there smoke and fire here?
Yes.
Was there smoke and fire up here?
Yes.
Some people that are clever can actually pick up the 40 in here, just like the 40 you can find up here. Was there angels up here? There was an angel in the bush. And we have Gabriel and Michael right here, in
Right.
this one. And some people are very clever about comparing these two together. And see right here?
Mm-hmm.
Now, who goes up into here in your physical brain? We've talked about it 100 times, and some people are very good at comparing the body.
Astrocytes.
Yeah. Not everybody can go up here, though. And this does look like a cloud, and
Astrocytes are star cells.
just like up here, or here, flash of the Shekinah.
Right.
Now, you had to be a Levite to be up in here. Now, what was Moses? Aaron was a high priest, right? And they were brothers. Right? Make sure I got
Yeah.
this right. Everybody's on the same page. So, wow. Levi, high priest. It just keeps going. You know, how everything follows that, this great pattern, including our Godhead. Yahweh, or because it fits the pattern perfectly, is your most holy place court roundabout. Not that I'm saying it is that, like here, but in principle, it follows that pattern. Right down to the word. Just fits perfectly. Amazes me. It just, one witness after the next, it amazes me. It does. And it, coming to the school and learning something, it's not like people here have a lot of things behind their names or in front of their names. Because I've used this example before. Our textbook was sent out to all kinds of heads, fancy people, right? And that I know of, it was a witness, but it wasn't like people called up and said, wow, I don't believe this. What will you sent me in this textbook? It was like, whoop. There's no offense, but I don't think we're a lot of fancy people here. You know, no, I don't mean anything negative by that, but there's not a lot of real fancy people. I'm not too smart. So it's a witness to me that if you're going to learn anything down here about your Creator, if you're going to learn anything down here about your Creator, it's a gift from Him.
That's right.
Yep, and that's why we go to bed and we get a chance to think and we praise His holy name. Mm-hmm. We just lay in bed, nobody's messing with us, we're just trying to sleep, and we think about our Creator and how happy we are to be able to do it and worship Him and love Him and actually say, when you say you love Yahweh, it's because we know Him.
Right.
We know his likes, we know his dislikes, and how happy we are to come and be able to learn anything about him. It's just a pure joy. Learn anything about our Creator. It's a love for us. That's why we come down here.
Right.
Continue to learn about our Creator. I hope I didn't confuse anybody. There was other things, but it was, you have to work within what you can do at the time. And I do appreciate being able to say anything about my Creator, and I'm very glad to be here tonight. Praise Yahshua.
Thank you, Lordy. For our next speaker, I'd like to introduce a visitor in from our Gates class, Dr. Marco Cobo. I always get that tongue twisted up. I don't know why. New gizmo here.
Good evening, class.
Good evening, Marco.
Let me know if I speak too loud for this, because I tend to try to speak nice and loud, and I know this might, well, maybe it'll just buffer it, so you handle it. Okay.
So you go for it.
I'm very glad to be here. I mean, it's been a long time, and there's a warm spot in my heart about this class. And I see the numbers have dwindled a little bit since a few years ago, and that's understandable. But still, there's that little bit that, you know, you go, gee, I wonder how Syracuse class is doing. That we have. I know I do. And I've been meaning to come up here a little more often, and the flesh gets in the way, the eyesight isn't what it used to be, and driving at night is a chore, you know, things like that. So I'm really glad that technology has caught up a little bit, and I got these cars with eyesight, and they'll steer you, they'll assist you.
Right.
They won't take over, but they will assist, and I'm glad for that. I'm glad for that technology. I can't wait till I can get in the car and just say, go ahead and drive, and then I can just sit back. That'd be nice. But we'll see if that ever gets there. I enjoyed what the first speaker got into, and one of the things I thought about was that Godhead. Now I remember, it was one of my first classes. It was in Spencerport, and it was also a senior center, I think it was called, Ogden Senior Center. And I think it was second class, and we had a visitor. He was the New York State Dean, Eastern Regional Dean. This is when they introduced him. I didn't know anything about this. And a member of the Board of Trustees, I believe it was. So he was there. I think it was my second class. And I was sitting somewhere over there, sort of by the aisle, had my Bible out, and he went over to Romans 1:19 and 20. And he took a Baltimore Catechism, and he had that read as well. And I think he read that one first, how it said in there, and you know, the question-answer format, and how it said in there, can you know anything about God? And they pretty much say, no, you know, it's a mystery, great mystery, you can't know anything about him.
That's right.
So then I'm sitting over there, and he has me read Romans 1:19 and 20. At that time, there weren't readers in the class. It was pretty much whoever got there first read it.
Yeah.
But he didn't wait. He went over and he said, "You go ahead and read that." So I remember reading it. I read Romans 1:19 and 20. Well, let's get that.
Romans 1 and 19. Because, do you want it with the names or without the names?
Oh, with the names.
Very
Yeah.
good.
Right,
Because
right.
that which may be known of Yahweh is manifest in them, for Yahweh has shown it unto them. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen,
Are clearly seen, read,
being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse.
so even his Godhead can be understood, and I think the holy name goes into his supernal nature.
Yes, it does.
And he went back and forth, I would say at least a half a dozen times between, no, you can't know anything about him in the Baltimore Catechism, and Romans 1:19, 20. Yeah, you can know something. Back and forth, back and forth. Had me read it every time. So that kind of stuck with me for a long, long time, because there is something that we can know about our Creator.
Right.
Now, we all have our fortes or things we understand or things we do at work, and mine happens to be a little bit of electricity. So I've always looked at that to try to understand a little. I mean, it's not the best example, but it is an example to understand how these three are one. Right? Yahweh, Yahweh Elohim, and Yahshua. And these three are one, as it says there in John, I think it's 1 John, I believe
Yes.
it is, 5. Let's get that real quick.
1 John 5 and 7. For there are three that bear record in heaven, the Father, the Word, and the Holy Spirit, and these three are one.
And these three are one.
And there are three
No, that's
that
fine.
bear,
That's all I
bear
wanted.
witness. Okay.
That's all I wanted. Now, some of the words that have been used in these classes, as far as Yahweh, and we say this every moderation, that Yahweh is pure spirit. And now in this state, he's inconceivable, inscrutable. That's where you can understand him. Now, Yahweh himself, knowing that man can't understand him, he took on shape and form right within himself, because there is no other place to go to other than pure spirit. That is the all in all, and there is nothing else side by side. It's all there is. So Yahweh, right within himself, took on shape and form as Elohim. And we say this is the Word or Son. And it's a super incorporeal being, right? Having the shape and form of a man, but without flesh and blood. Now, that's another way I've heard this, but this is a transmutation or transformation from this state to this state. Now, as the previous speaker said, it didn't take all of pure spirit to take on this shape and form.
Right.
Right? But there was a transformation. Now, the electrical connection.
Okay.
We're all familiar with that outlet there on the floor or on the wall, lower part of the wall. These are outlets that are electrical, and people plug things in, and we know there's electricity there, and we know there's some form of power there, because that's how it's measured. And that electricity, we know, I'm going to erase this real quick. It's basically 120 volts, and voltage measures, it's a measurement of that power. In fact, we know that, well, there's 120 volts, and 240 volts is higher than 120, so it's more power, right? But what I want to show you is that, and I'm going to draw it over here, that 120 volts is represented as a sine wave. And I know there's some engineers in here that are going to, but let's just, for the sake of argument, that top peak, let's just say that's 120 volts. And that's how we're going to measure it. When we measure that at the outlet, that's the 120 volts. Now we can almost understand that. People can, yeah, I plug things in all the time, my blender, my toaster, I can see the work, I can see the power. It's understandable. We can handle it. All those things. Now, outside of my home, there's a transformer. And I'm sure everybody here, similar circumstances, they have either a transformer on a pole, there's a transformer in the ground, on a pad mount, which is where the power that comes into your house is originating from. It's the second source, or the first source going to the house. And that transformer, there's also electricity, and it's feeding. Same stuff is coming here. But before it gets to that transformer, it's at a higher, what we call a higher voltage. It's the same stuff, it's the same electricity, but it's a higher voltage. And just for the sake of argument, or to express it, keeping it in line, it's going to be much higher. But it's going to be in phase. Now, I know I didn't draw it properly because it's hard to draw these things, but this peak is at the same time as that peak. This peak, same as that one. This negative peak, similar to that one. So they're in phase, but the voltage is much higher. So here you got 120 volts, and maybe here you got, let's say, 3,000 volts. And that could be what's out there at that transformer. And then it keeps going from there. At the transmission lines outside, and we've had a discussion years ago with someone here that I think knew about that, or worked out west. And they got these transmission lines that they transmit a lot of power. Very, very high voltage. In the range of maybe even up to 1 million volts. Around where I live, I think for the most part, we get around 340,000 volts. That you can see these, my kids call them, they're like monsters. Yes. They're big. You know, you see them on the highways or on the throughways, and they got the wires. Now, the voltage at that source is very, very high. It's, like I said, it could be 340,000 volts. And I couldn't draw it and do it justice, but believe me, it would pretty much be in phase. And I'm going to use another word here. I didn't mean to get technical here. I really didn't. But the frequency of that outlet is 60 hertz. 60 hertz, 60 cycles per second. The frequency at that transformer is also 60 cycles per second, same frequency. And the frequency of that transmission line at 340,000 volts is also 60 cycles per second. It's the exact, and it's in phase. But we don't understand that. It's hard to understand 340,000 volts and work with it. It is not the kind of, you're not plugging something in to that kind of power. It's totally different. You can't get near it. You can't touch it. You can almost touch 120 volts, and you're not going to get, I mean, if the wire came out of there and it was hanging here and it had 120 volts on it, I could touch it right now. I'm not grounded, it wouldn't go anywhere. I wouldn't do that at 340,000 volts just because it could go anywhere. Through my shoes, into the grounding grid. It's a voltage that's so much powerful we just don't understand it. Now these things happen in your commercial buildings. You have the same thing where you have a source of power that not everybody goes into those electric rooms because it's so much higher. You just can't go in there. Now, I hope you saw the analogy a little bit. Down in the court roundabout, down here, that's where a lot of work took place and everybody can see it. It was right there. They saw the high priest offer up the sacrifice, put it on the altar. The laver was right there. You can see all the, and it was hands-on. Now, when he went in here, not anybody could just walk in there.
Right.
Right? So the priest that went in here, he had to do things a specific way. When he offered up the incense, and we know that Aaron, his sons, Nadab and Abihu, offered up what they call wrong incense. Right? It wasn't what was supposed to be offered up, and Yahweh took them out. Yahweh killed them. You couldn't go in here and do whatever you wanted, is what I'm getting at, and you had to respect that and do it the way Yahweh purposed it or the way he designed it. Now, just like we can't walk into this building, probably has an electrical closet, I would say, somewhere, and it probably has electric panels in there, maybe 2, and you just can't go in there and start grabbing things and thinking something's not going to happen. See, the same thing is going to happen. Now, up here, now we know that the high priest can only go up there once a year. And he definitely had to do things just the way Yahweh or explained him to do it. I'm not getting into how he came in there and all the things, but he had to function in there a certain way. And it was life and death, not only for him, if he didn't do it right, but possibly for Israel too. Otherwise, Israel wouldn't be forgiven. That was the Day of Atonement, once a year. So again, what I'm trying to show here is very common, doable, seeable, not so much here, and very, very few ever go up here. And with electricity, that's what I do. We just can't have anybody, when we get into that high voltage, very high voltage, honestly, we hire it out. We don't do it. We hire people they're specialists in that field. Here we get involved a little bit in the stuff that we can handle. It's more doable. We'll go there and we'll work on those things. And down here, anybody can, for the most part. People, I'm using the common outlets as something that down here that you can see. And it's this 1, 2, 3 that we get into, and showing the difference in power. Now, those are all transformations or transforming from one power to a higher state of power. That 3,400 volts, that's a very high state of power, and it transforms down into a lower state, and then even further down into the state that we're familiar with, that lights the lights and everything else here. And I don't know, electricity fascinates me in that respect because of all the things that we couldn't support. This planet couldn't support 7 billion people as it does right now if we didn't have electricity, I'll put it like that, because of all the things that is involved with that. We couldn't support it. If electricity would stop today, you can understand nothing would work. Pumps wouldn't work, water, people would be, it would be pretty, they use a term,
Cataclysmic.
what is it?
Cataclysmic, it would be a real disaster.
Yes, things like that, where cataclysmic, something that will just change the way of life forever, that kind of stuff. Now, Yahweh, it wasn't an accident that certain people in the 1800s, Tesla, Edison, brought these things in. It wasn't like, oh, wow, that's, Yahweh's going, oh, wow, nice job there, Tesla, or nice job, Edison. Now, now I can do something, or it's not like that at all. We, as the previous speaker said, Yahweh has all this under control, including that.
Yes.
And it's no coincidence, or it's no by chance that these things occurred when they did. It's all going right as Yahweh planned it.
Right.
Now, get over there where, I apologize, but some scriptures I know, others I don't. That's just the way it is. I am Yahweh and there is none else. And that he declares the end from the beginning. Those might be two different ones, but sounds like an Isaiah.
Yeah. We're in Isaiah anyway.
And the one about
Yeah, there it is.
declare the end from the beginning, get that one, but hold that for a second.
Isaiah,
Go ahead.
Isaiah 46 and 9. Remember the former things of old, for I am Yahweh, and there is none else. I am Yahweh, and there is none like me, declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure.
Now, he's the only one that can do that or say that. No one else can.
Right.
And as men, I'm including women in that, we always we got a plan. Yeah, I'm going to do something, whatever it might be. And then we come up with a plan B. Because we know, it may not happen the way we want it to happen, but here's our plan B. Here's our contingency plan. Here's some people we use a contingency fund. And this goes for even the things that are engineered. We get projects and we're planning and we have a building that's going to go up and we got all these plans in order. It never goes according to plan. It never does. It never does.
Yeah.
That's why we have a contingency fund. Well, what's that for? Well, because something's going to happen and we need money to pay for that because we didn't count on everything. So we missed something. Now see, Yahweh doesn't need or have a contingency plan. He doesn't have a plan B. He has a plan, and it's just the one. And it doesn't deviate. It will not, there's no surprises. Yahweh's never surprised about anything. And he's not the Elohim of reaction. He's not reacting to something. At work, we have people that they're first responders, so they have to react to the fires, to the things that occur. Yahweh's not like that. There is nothing that he has to react against because he knows everything that's going to happen. He knows. He's put it in place. There are no surprises to Yahweh. See? And you can't, folks, you can't name one thing that Yahweh went, oh, wow, I didn't know that was going to happen. I didn't know so-and-so was going to get elected. Oh, I didn't know this team, whatever you want to say. You can't have something, or he goes, I didn't know that. Wow. And now I have to do something different. Now because of this, now I've got to do that. See, that's not the way Yahweh is. Everything is going according to his plan.
Right.
Now, getting on board with trying to understand why he's doing what he's doing. There's a goal right there. Why is this happening? How is this fitting in, or things like that, see? And those are little things that I know I've mentioned. And by the way, it's really your satellite class. It's not Gates' class. It's really the Syracuse satellite class, believe it or not. That's how we're not a separate class. I hope it's just that's the way it is. I know we're there, so I don't want anybody to think, oh, there's a class in Gates, really? And somebody from the IDMR decides that, when did we sanction that? Or didn't happen. So technically we are a satellite class or a workshop class, whatever you want to call it, of the Syracuse class. All right. Anyway, so Yahweh is not responding to anything that's going to surprise him. He is always in control, as the scripture says there. There's a couple of things I wouldn't mind getting out of our scripture reading, which was Isaiah the 30th chapter, verses 1 through 14. I've talked to a lot of folks about, I'm talking not in class, about these three are one. That is an obstacle that I don't know if some people will never get beyond that.
It's true.
They will. It just won't happen. And like the previous speaker said, if you know anything, or you're going to know anything about Yahweh, the truth, He will reveal it, and that's the only way.
That's right.
That's the only way it's going to be. And I'm not saying that the sky is going to open up and the music will play and you'll get this. I'm talking about He'll reveal it right within you.
That's right.
Right within you, that I get it now. That goes and then you get it. And there's a term, I remember somebody at work used to say, director, says something is not obvious, because we all like to say that. Oh, that's obvious. How could you not know that? That's obvious, right? Well, something is not obvious until it becomes obvious to you, to that person. And then you can say, oh, yeah, I get it now. That's obvious. I don't understand why I didn't get that before. But until it becomes obvious, it's like, I don't get it. There's an obstacle there. There's an obstacle you just don't get. And you can't force yourself
To get it.
through that obstacle in some cases. The harder you try, the more it's just too confusing. But if you wait on it, suddenly something will open up, something will make sense, and then you go, oh, I get it now. I see. And don't we say, I see?
Yes.
Right? And that's because before we can see anything, we got to have the light show it. Because we know we were all in darkness. Before we came down and learned anything of our Creator, in truth, we were in darkness. And Egypt down here, symbolical of darkness. See, there was no truth down here. There was, and there's even one of the plagues was the plague of darkness. They didn't know anything about Yahweh. See, and it wasn't until the light shone or the light came in that then those that it was revealed to, they go, oh, I see something. See, and they followed that light. They followed them out of there. But not everybody saw the light.
Right.
The Egyptians didn't see the light. It wasn't for them. Okay. Where did I leave that off?
What would you like in Isaiah, the 30th?
Oh, you got that he declares the end from the beginning and all that. Now, back to the scripture reading. I don't think I said I wanted to go there because there is something. Just start at 1.
Okay. Isaiah 30:1. Woe to the rebellious children, saith Yahweh, that take counsel, but not of me, and that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin.
So there are some that are taking counsel, but not of Yahweh. See? Now hold that
Okay.
and go to Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. I think that's where that is.
Proverbs 3 and 5. Trust in Yahweh with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding.
Read.
In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths.
Now read it again. I'm going to jump in.
Trust in Yahweh with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding.
So all of Christendom reads that. Oh, trust in. I'm sure they're reading a King James for
Yeah.
the most part. So no, oh, trust in God with all, or trust in the Lord. It'll say, right, with all thy heart. Yeah, we do that. Oh, I'm just going to trust in the Lord. I'm just going to trust in the Lord. And lean not unto, oh yeah, I'm going to do that too. I'm just going to trust in the Lord, and I'm not going to, try to lean on my own understanding. And they all think they're doing that. They really do. I've talked to folks, oh yeah, we do that all the time. We just leave it all up to the Lord. So there's got to be more than just those words, right? There has to be more to that. Read the next verse, 6.
In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths.
So that acknowledge him. This part about acknowledging Yahweh. Can we look up that word, to acknowledge? I'm sure folks have talked about the name of Yahweh with people that not in class, and they go, well, do you know that the name, that your Creator has a name, and his name is Yahweh? And they'll go, oh yeah, I heard that. I know that. They'll say, I know that, but they really don't know it. See, there's a difference, even though I've heard of that, but do they really know it? We're looking up the word acknowledge.
Acknowledge. This is out of Webster's New Collegiate Dictionary. Let's see. To recognize as a fact or as one's own, to admit as true or as pertinent, to confess as or to acknowledge a necessity or one's faults.
Don't you love it when they use the same word in the definition? I always love that when they use, acknowledge means to acknowledge. But what was that first one?
To recognize as a fact.
To recognize as a fact.
Or as one's own.
Okay. Give me another one.
To admit the claims or authority of, to recognize.
To admit the authority of, to recognize. Those are good ones, because what I was trying to get to there is acknowledging, to acknowledge Yahweh in all thy ways. That's a profound statement. Just like the first one was about trust in Yahweh with all your heart. That's a profound statement, because folks, you and I can't do that because we read that. Oh yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Right.
See, that's not happening. Because just like the Father or Yahweh can't be revealed to us by us reading something, it has to be the Son. Now, that's over in Matthew, isn't it? Matthew, is it 11?
I think so.
10 or 11. That only the Son, only the Father knows the Son, and only the Son knows the Father. I want to get that one. Because how do you trust in somebody if you don't know them? Right.
Matthew 11 and 27. All things are delivered unto me of my Father. This is Yahshua speaking.
Right.
And no man knoweth the Son, but the Father.
Now he says that no man knows the Son but the Father.
Right.
So only the Father even knows the Son. Read.
Neither knoweth any man the Father, save the Son.
So no man knows the Father except the Son, and no man knows the Son except the Father.
Right.
So read.
And he, to whomsoever the Son will reveal him.
So no one knows the Father but the Son, and he to whomsoever the Son will reveal him.
Correct.
But if you don't know who the Son is, who is the only one that knows the Father, see, so we also need to know who the Son is.
Right.
Now, Yahshua, who is the Son, I know, by the way, it's the same one. He is the only one that can reveal anything about the Father or about himself. So, by that statement alone, reading the book, studying up on whatever, fill in the blank, it will not reveal anything unless it's revealed by the Son. I'm not saying not to read the book. I'm just saying if anything is shown to any of us, whether it be even hearing somebody up on this floor, it's not the speaker that's going to reveal anything to you. It's going to have to be the revelation within you from the Son himself.
Right.
See, it can't be, no one takes credit. No one takes credit for it. See, all things, he's the only one that's going to take the credit. He's the only one that's going to get the glory. See, there is no, because I did this or that, I figured it out. And I remember long ago, I wasn't in class for a year, I think, and someone that I know, relative, came to me and said, hey, I was talking to some guy at work, and he spent 10 years in some monastery, and he spent all this time, and he has a degree, and he's got the he was telling me all this stuff that this guy had accomplished, and maybe I wasn't showing a lot of wisdom, but I said, stop. I said, I already know he's wrong. I said that. I said, I already know he's wrong because you left. If you would have told me that, the guy got a vision and a revelation straight from God, if he would have said that, he would have had my attention. But he didn't say anything like that. He said, because he studied and did this and studied under this one and all this, and then I already knew he was wrong. He didn't have to go any further. Now, like I said, I probably didn't have show a lot of wisdom when I said that, because that kind of response usually doesn't go over well. But even at that point in time, and I didn't know anything either, so Yahweh gave that to me, that this guy's already wrong because he's not giving the credit to me. He's giving the credit to himself.
Yes.
So he's already wrong. See, it's just, it's wonderful when Yahweh shows you the truth on anything. Isn't that it's a blessing? It's a gift.
It is.
It's a gift that, why would you not want that gift by claiming, no, I figured it out? It's not a gift. I did something, and that's why I know this. No, you've denied the gift. You've rejected the gift. Because it's a gift from Yahweh to know anything about him. It's a revelation, and it's a gift. Even what we believe, don't we always, why do we believe what we believe? Oh, well, because, I heard the witnesses and I agreed with those witnesses, and now that's why I believe. No. It's a gift to even believe. It's a gift to believe what we believe. And it's really a treasure. It's a treasure to be able to believe what we believe. Because many people in this school, right, heard the moderation, the name, and all, and heard there's only one name that you can be saved in, that you must be saved in, heard all that, and now the story's changed. See? And you got to wonder, how in the world, from our angle, you must, like, I'm going, how in the world could you not believe what he says about it, what Yahweh says about it? And I remember thinking this not that long ago was, didn't we used to say, how in the world could have Israel built this calf after seeing all the things that Yahweh did? How in the world could that have happened? I mean, if I had been back there, right, we think, oh yeah, I would have never taken part in that. No, and believe we would have. But we say, that's like, how could they have done that? They had just seen everything that Yahweh did for them.
Right.
And then less than 40 days later, they built the calf.
That's right.
Well, it's no different than what's going on right now. We say, how in the world could these people believe that the name, that you can be saved in another name?
That's right.
It's
the same story.
it's just mind-boggling to me. And that's that was really what's driving me to come down to a class like this, because I know it seems to be getting smaller and smaller, the people that aren't building calves, that they're believing in the truth, and they're sticking to the truth because it hasn't changed. The truth hasn't changed. Salvation is in the name of Yahshua the Messiah. How does Peter put it in Acts? I think it's the third chapter there? There is no salvation in any other. Now here's Peter. I've talked to Roman Catholics about this. Here's your first pope. That's what they believe, right? That Peter was the first pope.
Yeah.
I said, well, why don't you listen to your first pope? He said there's no other name, and he didn't say Jesus when he made that statement.
Right.
See? So go ahead and listen to your first pope. But anyway, I'm fooling here.
Acts 4 and 12. Neither is there salvation in any other, for there is none other name under heaven given among men whereby we must be saved.
Can you get any clearer than that? That's just right, clear, right to the point.
Right.
It doesn't get any clearer. Now, Peter's saying this after Pentecost, right? Right after, but still after. And we can get over in Ephesians, I think it's Ephesians, where there's no other name. That name is above all name, not only in this world or in this age, but in ages to come. So it's not changing because we're going into another age.
Right.
Not what Paul says, see. So it's just mind-boggling to me, and it has to be that way to a lot of the folks here that have been here twice as long as I have. I mean, that's really, some of you guys must really be going, yeah, it's incredible the things that are happening, the things that are being taught right in this school, they say, that it's incredible. And it is. Just as incredible as we say, man, how in the world could they have done that after what Yahweh did? After what Yahweh did, I mean, parting of the Red Sea. If you witnessed that, that would be like mind-boggling, wouldn't it? I mean, even to see it on the movie screen. I don't know. I mean, that was a little different. But to imagine how that actually happened, because that happened at night too. That was in the dark. And then here's this light that lights it up, because it was a tunnel, right? We can read it. It was actually like a mound that opened up.
Right.
And unless there's light in there, I don't think anybody's walking in there. That light had to shine right on through in order to be able for us to walk through, say. And to witness something like that had to have been incredible. And then to build the calf, and then declare, this is the God that got us out of Egypt. They
Yeah.
make that declaration. No, this is the God that got us out of Egypt. What? How could you say that if anybody back there, which there were, you got Joshua, right? And Moses, when Moses gets down, he's like, how in the world did this happen? Because he hadn't seen the rest of he hadn't seen the fall of Adam. That was in the third trip that the previous speaker was talking about. That's when he sees the fall. See, he didn't see that before. So he can't believe what's happening. But when he sees that there's another guy on the scene, way over there, and he's the God of this world, folks.
Right.
And he's been given power. Right? Dr. Kinley was very specific. Never heard the man in person, but I've heard him. We got tapes, we got transcripts, we got technology. You can hear exactly how he puts it. And he says that one has been given power to do what he's doing. It's not a surprise. Yahweh's not reacting to what he's doing. He's like, oh, you're going to do that? I guess I better do this. No, it's not like that at all. It's not like that at all. There's anybody, I'm sure people here have played chess, right? There's 8 squares by 8 squares. So there's 64 squares. There's, in the first move, I think there's like a possible 24 moves. I have it written down somewhere. I don't know why I Googled this one day for whatever reason. There's only like 24 moves you can make within the first 2. You can only make like 24. Now, after everybody's, you each have moved once, the second, the third and fourth move of the game, the fourth move of the game, now you got like 2,000 different, it's a big jump just by the second move. By the time the fourth move takes place, you're almost at 1 million. This game could now go 1 million different ways. And it's just a little square, 64 squares. And they say that at a certain point, it's too big of a number. The game could go so many different ways. It's millions and millions and millions of different ways, different moves, different outcomes. And that's just in the square that has 64 spots. And that's how many, So now expand that to include 7 billion people, and you've got, it's just phenomenal, the power that Yahweh has.
Right.
It's phenomenal. And we can't understand that. No, we just simply can't. That's in that realm of, you can't understand that. He has to bring himself down. He has to take him, transform into that lower state of power, just so you can even try to get something out of it. See, because that's the kind of power Yahweh has. Where did I leave off on the scripture reading? I thought you were going to ding me whenever you want, Chief, and you better make sure I hear it, because I have a bad. I got to get a hearing aid one of these days, because I don't hear those high-pitched rings.
You're at Ephesians 30:2.
Okay.
that walk to go down into Egypt and have not asked at my mouth to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh and to trust in the shadow of Egypt. Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion.
There is no power in darkness.
Right.
It's just nothing but confusion. See? And that's all Egypt signifies back there. It was just darkness. There was no truth. There was nothing that we could learn about, that they could know about Yahweh. They didn't know anything about Yahweh. In fact, he had to come down and reveal himself over here to a man by the name of Moses, and then say, Moses, you go down and you tell the children of Israel that the Elohim of your fathers have sent me to deliver you out of there. Because they had been there 400 years, and you can't be down anywhere for 400 years and not assimilate to some degree with what was happening down here. See, Egypt had many gods.
Right.
Egypt, they didn't know Yahweh. They simply just didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
So now he comes down and reveals himself. And he says, we're coming out of bondage, because that's where they were. They were in bondage. Now they were in bondage to Egypt. They were in bondage to this darkness. And we were all in bondage to darkness and didn't know it. I was in bondage to I didn't know it. I had no idea that Yahweh was real. I had no idea how that even worked, that there's Yahweh, there's Elohim, there's Yahshua, there's a pattern. Didn't know anything about a pattern. Didn't know anything. Didn't know I didn't know. See? And then it came down to coming down to one of these classes. And then suddenly that little dim light goes off. And you go, wow, yeah, I see that. I mean, that, and you think it's because you see it, but really all along, Yahweh's just working. I mean, it's not by accident that any of us are here. It's not by accident. It's not by our own will or any of that stuff. It's just by the will of Yahweh. See? And that's why I stress giving him the credit and accepting the gift. Because a lot of us, I know I was, did that just go off? I'm sorry. You gotta hit it hard, because I can barely hear it, Rick. I'm serious. I don't hear those high pitches. That's why the microwave, people tell me, hey, whatever you got in the microwave is ready. It's still, beeping. So I got 5 minutes. I'll wrap it up. It's the gift, folks. Don't reject the gift. If Yahweh gives it to you, and you believe it, and it makes sense, and it's the gift of faith, see, that you even believe. To me, that's powerful.
Right.
That's real powerful. I'll turn it back to the moderator. I'm happy to be here. I'm glad that I came. I hope to get out more often. Penn is not that far. I happened to be there, and I thought, well, I'll drive up. It was still an hour and 35 minutes, something like that. But it's not too bad, especially during the day. You get here, and it's still daylight at this time of the year. So I hope to come and make it some more often, Yahweh willing. Thank you. All praise unto you.
Learn how to be more graceful with this thing. I don't know. Okay. Thank you, Marcos. For our next speaker, I'd like to introduce Dr. Margaret Trevison.
Okay. Thank you. And hey to everybody. I've just been sitting there really enjoying the speakers. It was like, it puts you in a wonderful frame of mind when you just hear the truth being spoken and so stimulated. I'm like, oh man, there's so many places you could go, you know? Now you gotta like chop it down. Okay, let's see. There were so many things that were said. Lloyd is starting out with the tabernacle pattern that we all know. There's just an amazing thing that was explained to us by Dr. Kinley. He's the one that really showed us that there was an importance to this tabernacle. It's been in everybody's Bible forever, but nobody ever, like, you know, I mean, there was a place down in Pennsylvania where they built the real thing, but they still didn't know the reality of it, what it's pointing to. And Lloyd was showing us how this is, this chart is man made in the image of Elohim by the pattern of the tabernacle. And then over here, Lloyd explained here how Yahweh, pure spirit, takes on this visionary shape and form, and then that's the end of the works of Yahweh, pure spirit, but now it's Yahweh in the shape and form that transfigures into a tabernacle, and it's by that pattern dictates the 7 days of creation. And it's just, and I got thinking, well, really, you can't look at anything and not see a tabernacle after a while, because the creation, anything you're going to look at in the creation is going to go by that tabernacle. As he said, the greater and more perfect tabernacle, and even, you know, second or third grade science, they learned there's the core, mantle, and crust to the earth. It's threefold, you know, and it just goes on and on, so that everything that Yahweh made, he made it as a reflection of himself. But the best one he made, the most perfect one he made, that best reflected himself was us, man. Yeah. So that puts us way at the top of the, you know, everything that's going on here. And he demonstrated that by when he put Adam in the garden, he gave him rule. He ruled the animals, he named the animals, he ruled everything. He ruled. And that is because Adam was made as a type and shadow of Yahweh Elohim. And as it's been explained by the second speaker, Yahweh Elohim rules. There's no confusion.
That's right.
There's not, oops, how did that happen? He's ruling. He's in charge. He's the king. He's the one that's responsible. He's got everything that's going perfectly according to his plan. And Adam here is a type of that he, in that garden, he ruled. He was in charge of everything. The lions and tigers weren't bothering him. You know, the elephants weren't stampeding on him. Nothing like that. He ruled in that garden. And it was to show us, it's the example, that's the physical example to show us that there's heavenly. And I like that too. Lloyd's talking about how, you know, you've got the three, you've got Yahweh Elohim in the most holy place, and the high priest was the only one that could go in there. And it made me think of when you go to the doctors, or put it this way, when you have to have surgery, right? Almost anybody can like deliver a baby. It happens in taxis. I mean, court roundabout, that stuff that goes on. You don't really need a real expert to do it. Good that they had some training or something, you know. But most doctors can deal with whatever goes on down here. But when it comes to chest cavity, like your lungs and your heart, you want more of a specialist working in there. You don't want your taxi cab driver doing open heart surgery. That would not be your choice. You want to make sure somebody that's got some experience in that field is doing that. And so it's more higher priority. And just like you were talking about with the electricity, how, you know, anybody can plug something in and get it to work. If the outlet's working, we can do that. But then if it comes to like wiring stuff, and I'm like, you know, is that wire hot or not? I don't know. I'm going to call an electrician. If that outlet doesn't work, I'm calling an electrician. Rick knows a little bit. He might be able to go in there and fix it, put a new socket in or something. He knows enough like that. But if it's beyond that, then you're calling a specialist in, right? And then even our specialist says he calls in a specialist when it gets to the harder stuff, the more, the higher voltage stuff. He's not messing with that. And this power, it just made me think of that pamphlet. No, the one where Dr. Kinley's talking about his vision and he felt Moses walking up the mountain. The panoramic vision. And he talks about how as this power came closer and they were just vibrating almost senseless, and he could feel that power turning himself down, dimming himself down, so that he could stand it. And he's not even in a physical body at that point. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we're talking some power here. Just like we were talking about that high voltage power. You're talking something really high. And that stuff has to be brought way, way, way down to where we can use it. We can plug something in and get the blender to work. But it's such a big jump from here to here. So this is from the heaven to the earth. And so that's why Romans 1:19 and 20 is so vital and so important. Because without the physical, we're not going to know anything about what's beyond the veil of flesh. And this is something I was thinking about the other day when we had 1 Corinthians 15 was a scripture reading, and it was, can you get the quote where it says, that which is first is the physical and then that which is spiritual? Because I want to show you that your understanding goes beyond the words on the page. Because the Holy Spirit's revealed stuff to you. You've had a revelation. And you're I'll show you what I mean in a minute here. Can you find that? It's like
40. Well, I'll pick it up at 42.
Okay.
So also is the resurrection of the dead.
Okay, so in 1 Corinthians, he's talking about there's a heavenly body, it's different from the earthly. Right. There's this, and it differs from that, and the stars differ from one another. And he's going through all this stuff like that, showing us there's heaven and there's earth. He's comparing the two, right? Because that's the only witnesses that Yahweh gives us. There's Yahweh, pure spirit, and then there's heaven, there's earth. That's what there is. That's the only two things that exist, heaven and earth.
Right.
And they're both within Yahweh Elohim, or within spirit. Okay, go ahead.
So also is the resurrection of the dead. It is sown in corruption. It is raised in incorruption. It is sown in dishonor. It is raised in glory.
There's no honor to the flesh. There's no honor to the flesh. As much as people like to honor the flesh, and Yahweh's point of view, there's no honor to the flesh.
Right.
You got the movie stars, you got people's names that, supposedly pull a lot of power, and, so-and-so is coming to town, and everybody has to run and go see so-and-so but it's just flesh.
Right.
And he's saying flesh, there's none, according to Yahweh, but the carnal mind thinks there is. That's why they fill up auditoriums and stadiums and coliseums with people that go there to see another person. Okay, so it's different with the Spirit. Go ahead.
It is sown in weakness. It is raised in power. It is sown a natural body. It is raised a spiritual body.
Now he's showing us that, it is sown a natural body, that Yahweh, he came in a physical body, and this one went to the grave, and when it raised, it didn't raise a physical body again.
That's right.
Oh, we were talking about Catholicism too, and I read someplace, because we're usually they believe in a physical resurrection.
Yes.
And I did read, and I can't remember, I'm so mad at myself for not remembering it, that they now say that when you resurrect physically, you get that young body. Even if you die old, when you resurrect, you get the young body you had. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
I mean, because we're always saying, who wants to resurrect with all the aches and pains and So they're saying, oh, no, you get that young body. Like, oh, good. So they're so sold on that raising a physical body.
Yeah.
But now they figured it out that it might not be so cool if you live to be 98 or 99, so you might want a younger body. So now they're saying, yeah, you get a younger one. I just thought that was funny. Okay, so go ahead where you are.
There is a natural body and there is a spiritual body.
There's heaven and there's earth. There's natural body, there's spiritual body. You have a natural body, you have a spiritual body shown by the bones, see? When the flesh rots within a few days. The flesh doesn't last long at all. It's going to be gone quickly, not last. But the bones, they're going to go on for quite a long time to show us, it's in Romans 1:19 and 20,
Right.
something physical to reveal the spiritual. That the flesh doesn't last long at all. That's okay, because there's no honor in it anyways. But the spirit, what's in it, is this typified by these bones. There's an inner man. That's going to go on for eternity. That's the one that's important. That's the one that's going to be raised in power, not the physical, you know? So go ahead.
And so it is written, the first man, Adam, was made a living soul. The last Adam was made a quickening spirit. Howbeit, that was not first which is spiritual, but that which is natural. And
But stop and
afterward-
think about that. Paul's making a point here.
Right.
But he's saying, but that was not first, which is spiritual. Is that true? Is that true? No,
No.
it's not true. Because the
Covenant.
first one is here, and he's spiritual.
He's
This is the
spiritual.
first. This is the beginning. This is the, the beginning of everything. Before the creation comes, when the creation comes in, it comes in through this spiritual body. So that which is first is spiritual. But you know that now.
Right.
You know that because you go over to, in the beginning was the Word was with Yahweh, the Word was Yahweh. You know all that. But Paul is trying to get a point across that from where you sit, when you come in here with a carnal mind, you have to be able to see the physical first. Or
That's
you're
right.
never going to get a clue about the spiritual.
Right.
You're not going to have a clue. If we can't take something from the creation and use it to give you an example of something spiritual, you're never going to see the spiritual. But once you've come to that point, what I'm trying to show you is he's already revealed stuff to you. You're going in the book and you're correcting it. And Paul's saying that which was first was physical, and then that was spiritual. We know that's not exactly true. It's true from this perspective of a carnal mind. They first have to be able to see the physical before they can see the spiritual. But if your mind you've been raised to the spiritual realm, then you know that's not really true.
Right. Okay.
I just think it's so fun that he lets us see this stuff. Who'd ever thought, that we'd be looking
And
at
it's
Paul
true.
and knowing even the perspective that he's speaking from. I don't know, I just thought that was really cool. And I think that's all that I want there.
Okay.
Let's go to the scripture. I want to tie that in. There's so many cool things that were said tonight. So did I get to the point about when you get to the most holy place and somebody's having surgery, you're going to go make sure whoever's working on your brain,
Yes.
right, going to be very highly skilled, and they're going to have some credentials. They're going to have done it before with success. You're hoping. It's like, yeah, I've done it before. I've lost every patient, but I've done it before. I'll do you. Nobody's lived through it yet, but sure, I'll take you on. No, you're not going to go there. You're going to, no, I'll pass on that. I want to make sure somebody's done it before and the patient has survived the brain surgery. So do you see how it's just so more and more highly specialized? And that's where you've been drawn up to where you're very highly specialized because you're a spirit creature now. You're not just flopping around in the flesh like the bottomless sea, those things that are just eating each other and there's nothing else to eat. They just eat each other. And in the abyss, it's just miserable, cold,
Dark.
nothing going on. But then you go into the twilight area of the sea where the sunlight does filter through. There's some life there. There's something going on. There's more than there. It's faster. This is real slow, logy stuff down here. This is the intermediate. I mean, there's nothing that you can't take in this creation. Look at it according to Yahweh's this pattern because he created absolutely everything. Everything goes by this tabernacle pattern. There's no getting away from it. So you got the twilight zone, and there's interesting that in the twilight zone of the ocean, there's a fish called a lanternfish that will go up at night to feed, and it's got lights on its side. The lights are blue, purple, and scarlet. Huh. Does Yahweh know what he's doing or what? You want witnesses for his stuff? He'll slam you with witnesses. And that's just like, you can't turn your back. You can't walk away. You can't forget this stuff because it's become a part of you. And then you're just always looking for your Creator to express himself to you in any way that he wants to, whether it's with a relationship or it's in the creation or it's something you're reading in a book. He's on your mind, then you're going to be fed, that inner man. So so there's that lanternfish. He comes up and goes back down. And then up in the most holy place, which is just a tiny compartment compared to this whole tabernacle. It's little compared to all the big court round about. And this is twice the size of the most holy place. The most holy place is a pretty small part of the ocean. Just a very little skinny top layer where the sunlight and the algae grows. Angelfish. We talked about angels, Lloyd. You have to have angels in the most holy place? You sure do. That's where the angelfish are. And the fish up here are all the bright colors. Why? That high priest went in there. He had the breastplate, all those beautiful
all the
different
stones.
colored gemstones. There's light, there's life, there's vitality. He's forgiving their sins for a year so that they're not all going to die. So there's life up here and vitality, and it's the top part of that ocean. There's the clownfish. There's happiness. It's fun. To have the Holy Spirit is not a big drag, and you don't go around all the time moping like, oh, I got to go to class tonight. Got to prove I got the Holy Spirit to somebody or something. I don't know. What's to mope about? Really? The clownfish, they're happy. All these little fish up here, they're flying. Some of them can jump out of the air, and, they got to come back down. But it's just, it shows you the excitement and the vitality and the color and all that going on. So different compared to the bottom of the ocean, that abyss, where not much going on down there. It's so cold and there's so much pressure. They're all very logy. Now, and it's been brought up recently, Richard Davis, when he was taken out of the flesh, he was in a motorcycle accident, and he was in his hospital bed in a coma, and the doctors didn't know what was going to happen because he had so many broken bones and inner problems, and he was a mess. The doctors weren't sure about anything. And Dr. Kinley went into his hospital room and called him back, more or less. And he was mad at Dr. Kinley because where he was fun. It was light. It was life. It was lively. And when he called him back to the flesh, he said it was hard and it was cold and he didn't want it anymore.
Right.
Because he tasted this. He'd had a taste of that. So he had absolutely no desire to come back in the flesh, and he had a real attitude with Dr. Kinley for quite a while, till he realized that he had to be a testimony. He was meant to be a testimony. And that was his testimony that we heard, that he still remembered being in that state. And he had every desire in the world to be back there. Then he even told me, they were at our house once after he was around town, and we're sitting out in we were sitting out actually in the room you're doing, the Florida room, and he's telling me how him and his wife always they adopted foster children, babies. They always fostered babies, and that he loved it because he said he could take those babies and hold them, and he could look into their eyes, and it would take him, he said he would get the same feeling. It would take him back, like where they just came from, through their eyes, that he felt like it took him back here, that they just came from there, and that he could like really get a sense of, it would bring it back to him where he was by looking in those babies' eyes, knowing where they just came from. I just thought that was so cool.
Yes.
It's like, wow, what a nice thing to look forward to, you know? We have all that. We have the promise of the Holy Spirit. He's revealed stuff to us. And it's, oh man, where was I reading that? Can't remember. It was something, I don't even know if it was a transcript or what, but it was saying more or less like if you feel that you've got to declare, it's going to be made known that you have the Holy Spirit, because you're going to act different than everybody else, you know, on your block or whatever, in your job. You know, they're all stealing pencils and trying to get you to steal pencils too so they don't feel bad about it. It's like, no, I have pencils at home. I don't need pencils. Why would I take pencils? And they're like, well, we're all taking pencils. Well, good, take your pencils. I don't need them. You know, and they're like, and they want you to join in because it makes them feel like it's okay to do this because we've got everybody else doing it. And that's the mentality out there. Yeah. It's okay to lie because everybody's doing it. That's why you stick out like a sore thumb, because you go, oh, wait a minute, I'm not comfortable with that. They're like, what do you mean you're not comfortable with that? Everybody does it. What's your problem? And then you're the freak. You're the one that's kind of ostracized and like, not going to be with her too much longer because she's not going with the program here. We got a program going. We're going to get all we can get for ourselves. And they're not going with that. It's because we don't care about stupid stuff. We care about important stuff. And they have no idea that there even is important stuff to care about. Yeah, they have no idea that they have a creator who made us according to his pattern, and how everything's made by that pattern, and how we can get a grasp on things in this creation because we know that pattern. And it does help you get by in the physical, but it's really, 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 really going to help you get by in the spiritual. And that's the one that's going to go on forever and ever and ever. The physical, not so much. Not going to last all that long. But what's inside of you, that spirit that's been built up and sustained and keeps coming back to class to be fed and be nourished and be strengthened, you know, those bones have to have pressure. They have to be worked. If you lay in bed forever, those bones just kind of go away because they're not being used. Right. Same thing, just like when you lose a tooth, the bone around it's going to be gone because there's no purpose for that bone anymore. It just kind of goes away. And the same thing with every bone in your body. It has to have some kind of pressure. There's got to be some kind of pressure on it in order to keep it healthy and strong and all that kind of stuff. So whenever you hear, there's the firework, I guess. So whenever you think, oh, I'm going through this trial and it's hard and I don't know if I can take it and this and that, it's just the pressure to make you stronger. That's what it is. And you know that Paul and whoever it was down there and they said, thank goodness for the trials. You know, we're happy to have been persecuted for the name of Yahshua. We're just thrilled about that, you know? And sometimes you think, wow, is it those guys crazy? Or well, who wants to be persecuted? Well, nobody wants to be persecuted. But when it comes to the truth, you're not going to back down. So guess what? You're going to be persecuted because you're not backing off of it. You're not going to say, oh, we'll let this one slide. No, not going to happen. No, when you're challenged, you got to tell them. That's just what it is. And that's what we do here. We just come down here and enjoy getting together with other people that are of the same mind. You know how rare that is? You know how rare that is? And you can come here and be with a room, to me, a room full of people. And I don't care if there's 5, 6, 7, 30. There's a room full of people that want to hear the truth. Where do you go to find that? So now you know. There's places to go to find that. Thank you very much for your attention. All praises to Yahshua.
Thank you, Peggy. And I'd like to thank everyone for coming and like to welcome you back. We're here every Wednesday at 7:30, every Saturday at 7 o'clock. And we all rise to be dismissed. I'll be reading the doxology as it is in the last 2 verses of Jude in the Holy Name Bible. Now unto him that is able to keep you from falling and to present you faultless before the presence of his glory with exceeding joy, to the only wise Elohim our Savior, through Yahshua the Messiah, our Sovereign, belong glory and majesty, dominion and power both before all time, now and ever. Let us all say in unity, Hallelujah. Hallelujah.